is time to get raw. It is time to get down. It is time for the RAWDOWN, the #1 source for all things WWE, right here at the Turnbuckle Tavern. I am your host, Young Anthony, and I am joined with my co-host, just one this week, thank God, the MVP Marco of the Chick-fil-A Show and Open Mic. Marco, it's a two-man show this week, but I think that's where we're at our best.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, last week the same thing. It was a two-man show. It was a one-man show. I carried it myself. No thanks to J Bone. He was a good hand, good worker,
good kid,
good hand. That
good kid, good hand, bright future.
Good hand, bright future for that kid. No, but yeah, man, it's good to see you again. You were missed last week. You missed my my ceremony, my championship crowning ceremony. I mean,
good. I'm glad.
On purpose, I think.
Yeah, well, that's another story for another day. But nevertheless, we do have a good episode for you here tonight on the RAWDOWN. A lot of stuff to talk about. A brand new championship in the world of the WWE. Well, not really. We'll talk about that.
Yeah.
Other championship talk that we'll discuss. Maybe we'll even do some NXT tonight. You know, we have a bit of a light episode when it comes to outside the ropes news, so we'll see what we'll do. But before anything, we are going to kick things off with outside the ropes, as we have some sad news in the wrestling world. Let's just jump right into it. Outside the ropes.
Outside the ropes.
All right, outside the ropes news. Like I said, sad news to kick us off this week. The Iron Sheik has unfortunately passed away. I believe he was 81 years old.
Yes, 81.
If I read that right. Just a horrible loss in the world of wrestling, and you really see how he transcends the world of wrestling. You know, there were a lot of different news outlets talking about him, how much of a big character he was. You know, obviously in the era of Hulkamania.
Yeah.
You know, just one of those. Obviously, I didn't grow up. I wasn't even a concept in this world when the Iron Sheik was really in his prime. But you know, you go back and you watch the WrestleManias, and you know, obviously he was the one that passed the torch basically to Hogan to start off that run of Hulkamania, being that transitional champion from Backlund to Hogan. Played such an instrumental role really in that transitional period of the WWE going for the Hulkamania era. And obviously, you know, it goes without saying, you know, his tag team with Nikolai Volkov, one of the most hated tag teams of all time. You go back and you watch their matches. Obviously, a lot of heat there. And just all the promos with Mean Gene or Gene Min.
Gene Min.
I don't know who put in the our group chat. It was either today or yesterday with him and the turkey.
Oh my God, dude! It was Tom that posted that.
Yeah.
And actually, if you go on YouTube and you search WWF bloopers, there's I think it's like 10 minutes long. It's like that's included with it, but there's other ones like Big John Studd, Kamala. Like it's just them behind the scenes with Mean Gene doing the promos, but they just start cracking up laughing and stuff like that. But that video in particular maybe got a real laugh. I don't know why. I think it was like when he grabbed the turkey by the neck and he was like, "It looks like a Hulk Hogan." So I could not stop laughing, dude. It was the funniest thing. Patoo, and he spits at the turkey.
Mean Gene was losing it, absolutely losing it. Yeah, I mean, when I heard the news, because I was at work when I heard the news, I was just like, "There's no way." I thought it was a joke, because you don't really process something like that could happen, like such an iconic figure like Iron Sheik, just you know,
out of nowhere too.
Out of nowhere, really.
I mean, I haven't been on Twitter enough or social media to read anything about his health declining or anything like that. So I'm not even sure if they put that out there. I mean, I know after the fact, just reading different posts and stuff like that. from different like wrestlers and things like that, especially like, Sergeant Slaughter, him bringing that, him talking about that, posting a picture of the last time, he's seen Iron Sheik, and he had him in the, the Cobra Clutch.
Mhm.
And he, his health was declining. Obviously, Sheik was kind of before my time too. Like when I started watching it, he was, I think kind of like on the tail end. And then one of the most significant storylines, for me when I started like getting into, wrestling was not getting into it, but like, being introduced to Iron Sheik was the, Sergeant Slaughter defecting from the United States and teaming up with Iran during the, the Desert Storm wars and stuff like that. And obviously, SummerSlam comes around, Hogan, Warrior, they team up to fight the Allied powers as Sergeant Slaughter and Sheik were. And there's a great video of a promo where, Sergeant Slaughter's gifted boots from the then dictator of and it's just like, I accept these boots and all this stuff. It's definitely go back and watch it. Really, really great stuff. Obviously, we talked about his promos. I mean, obviously, like you said, people know him nowadays. Like, I mean, in the past 10 years or so, even longer than that, the Twitter, Iron Sheik's Twitter is probably the greatest. Like Twitter, that was the only Twitter like that stayed consistent from all the changes. Because back in the early like the 09, 10, that's when like Twitter like started rolling, and it was like an outlaw land. It was like you could literally say anything you want. Obviously, as the years went on, they had to like kind of customize it so everyone can use it. But Sheik say the same, like F Hulk Hogan, F this, F that, I'll humble you, all that stuff. Yeah, he was quite the character. And I think I shared in the group chat. I met him. It was WrestleMania 20. Was it 29? What was the New York, New Jersey one? The first one.
29.
That was 29. Yeah.
Yeah.
So PWS, the Pro Wrestling Syndicate, held like they held a show, Supercard show, and before that they did like meet and greets and all that stuff. Like I think like New Jack was there, Iron Sheik, a whole bunch of people. So that was why I wish I saw the picture. I deleted it off my old phone, but I got online, met him and stuff like that. I shook his hand. I was like Iron Sheik. I was like, you're the greatest world champion in the history of pro wrestling. And he's like, oh, thank you, Bubba, thank you very much, thank you, Bubba. I was like, oh man, it was the greatest moment ever. I was like, I had to tell him. I had to tell him he was the greatest world champion because he was the greatest world champion of all time. I mean, Bell looked great. If you see that old pictures of the other big gold, the WWF big gold back in the day with the green strap and all those like nameplates and stuff, I mean, guy looked like a champion, dude.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, we could go on for days. I mean, Olympic coach, for the United States during I think 76. Yeah, I mean, guys, he's a legend, dude.
Absolutely. I got to go back and watch a lot of the Iron Sheik and Sergeant Slaughter feud through Classic Match Classroom. So I mean, what the boot camp match was like the big one, and I mean, such a brutal match. I think Iron Sheik is definitely a legend in wrestling that maybe doesn't get talked about enough as much as he should. Yeah. Maybe it's because he's kind of been in recent years more focused. People more focus on like the Twitter and the Howard Stern interviews and just kind of the lore around him. But you really go back and you look at his body of work. One of the most hated heels in history, and really allowed for such baby faces like Slaughter and Hogan to really get put up on that pedestal because you had someone that was so easy to hate that it made it so much easier to cheer for guys like Hogan and get them over. Yep. So that's why I say he's such an instrumental part of the WWE's history, because without someone like Iron Sheik, do you get guys, obviously, Hulkamania was destined to happen, but do you get something like Hulk Hogan being the star that he is without having that heel like Sheik to really set him off? So obviously things to always think about, but definitely if you haven't already, go back and watch some Iron Sheik promos just to celebrate his life.
Definitely watch matches. I'm not sure if it's on Amazon still, but his documentary is on there. I think it was just called Sheik or something like that. Definitely go watch that. It's by it's by him and obviously others. And it tells like his whole story from like him growing up all the way till him moving to the United States, and becoming the success he is. Yeah, definitely go and watch that. And the outpouring obviously of like all his peers and stuff like that. Definitely, like I said, you when you read those like posts and stuff like that, you definitely it gets past it goes past like the like I said, the social media chic, and you get to read those stories of like how when he was alive, and whoever got to be in his company or had the pleasure to be in his company, and stuff like that. So yeah, definitely definitely will be definitely, that's a big hit, dude. That's one of the golden era greats, dude.
Absolutely.
Him, Piper, when Piper passed, like that was pretty big. And another name that got Hulkamania off the map, Roddy Piper. He was hated so much. He had to carry a gun around with him, stuff like that at points. And that leather jacket that he used to wear, he had a holster in there. Did you know that? He had like a hidden compartment where you'd carry a pistol.
Wow.
He was so hated at one he used to walk through the crowd, I guess, but then he had to stop walking through the crowd at one point because people started trying to fight him or stab him and stuff. So I think he actually got stabbed before. But that's a true heel, when people really hate you enough to want to do bodily harm to you.
Someone stabs him. That's what you get for Hogan.
You hurt Cyndi Lauper. Start stabbing him.
This one's for Captain Lou. But nevertheless, rest in peace to the legend Iron Sheik. Again, if you haven't already, go watch some promos, watch some matches, and celebrate the man.
Yeah, he'll humble you.
Nevertheless, we're going to move on to our next Outside the Ropes topic, and that is off of an interview that Seth Rollins recently did. This actually came out a few hours ago, so pretty recent news that we could talk about for a little bit. Basically, Seth Rollins was talking about obviously the new World Heavyweight Championship.
Yep.
And he was pretty much saying how the WWE roster is too talented for, quote, one champion who isn't around. So I'll read the whole quote here. Well, I won't read all of it, but I'll read most of it because it was a whole big paragraph that he said here. But he basically gets on, I believe it's Mark Andrews' podcast, and he says, as I close this ad, I think just kind of calling it the work rate title is a little bit underselling it. Obviously, the World Heavyweight Championship. At the end of the day, the title exists because our roster is so chock full of talent. There's too much to have one champion that's not around very much. I think the fact that we have so many worthy contenders, people that could hold this championship, I think that is the reason the title exists. If we had a weak roster and things weren't good and stuff wasn't hot, it would be a different story. It might be fine to just have one champion who isn't around and didn't want to make live events, but that's just not the case. We're selling out left and right, Jeddah, Saudi Arabia, Paris, France, Mexico City. We're going to put in the work to build this title to be as big as any championship in wrestling. We're not naive to think that I just lost the quote. We're not naive to think that we don't need to put in that work. We know that it needs to happen, but like I said, you've got this roster, you got the guys in the crew that are willing to make it feel as big as it is. So when you hear a quote like that, a few things come into your mind, and I'm going to defer to you on this.
Yep.
One, do you truly think that WWE is going to go all in on making this title equivalent with the Undisputed World Championship? More on that in a little bit. Or by default, will it always be that number 2 because it's under Roman? And also, I want to get your thoughts on how they've been portraying this championship, because ever since the beginning, it always seems to be, oh, this title isn't going to be Roman. Roman's never here. We're going to be around. Does that hurt one or the other title? I mean, is one championship being devalued because one is going to be defended more, one is not defended as often? What's your perception on that, how they're kind of portraying that?
That's a loaded question, dude. That's a lot. That's a lot of
It's been 2 weeks since I've been on the show. I need to start
Yeah.
asking loaded questions to
That's
make
a
up for
lot of
time.
that's a lot of thoughts. Let me say I do agree with Seth Rollins when he does say the roster's too big um, to not have a secondary like world heavyweight championship.
Agree.
You can I kind of look at it as like in the UFC or boxing or whatever, they have, the heavyweight, they have like, lightweight, middleweight, like every, size, or everyone has their own championship,
Mhm.
right? You can either move up to the bigger one or you can move down. That's how I see this world heavyweight championship as like it's like the if Roman's like the main championship, and we'll talk about that too because they did say it was the undisputed universal and not the WWE championship. So we'll have to get back to that.
Hear me out.
Yeah, so if you want to say it like that, like so you have your two champions, you have two different divisions. That's how I look at it. I don't think one's lesser than the other. I think they're equal. It depends on what division you're fighting in.
Mhm.
That's how I look at it anyway. So like, I mean, everyone else is probably going to look at it like, that's a secondary. It's Roman's ever losing that. That's why. But I think they did that to WWE desperately needed a star first and foremost, like back before the pandemic happened. And they were trying to do that with Roman, but it wasn't working. And I'm going to actually bring this into it because Paul Heyman actually was on Rick Rubin, if you know that is world famous legendary producer of many hits. Go look him up if you need to. So it was like a 3-hour interview, and he actually talked about when Roman stepped away from the WWE during the pandemic and what happened. But the way he explained it was a culmination of he was done with creative. He was done with the dog food matches. He was done with the way he was being portrayed. He didn't like his character. That's why. So like the pandemic and then his feelings kind of ran concurrent. That's why he like stepped away. He's like, I'm done. I'm not dealing with this anymore. Like,
Wow.
I got to step away and I got to try to come back. And then he goes on to say that, hey, everybody, guess what? You want to know who put Roman and Paul Heyman together? Take a guess. Who had the idea? I'm going to say who's the brainchild of the Bloodline storyline?
Was it Vince?
Yes, it was Vince McMahon. Paul Heyman got a call during with the time off. And he said, "Hey, we're looking to put you with somebody." And he was like, "Well, at the time, Brock's doing whatever he's doing, so he's not going to be around. He's running down all the heels." And he's like, Paul Heyman goes, "There's no way they're going to stick me with Roman. That's not happening." He's like, the next words out of Vince's mouth was, "I'm going to put you with Roman."
It's time to shake things up around here.
So everybody, you get the chance, just like Sasha Banks / Mercedes used to say on her Twitter, "Thank you, Vince," because he's the brainchild behind everything that's been happening. What you guys love. So not so out of touch, is he? People? But anyway, yeah. So like I said, it's two different divisions. I think Seth, the championship is as important as you make it as well. So you can make it prestige in two ways. You can make it prestige where it's inaccessible and limited, or you can make it prestigious by defending it all the time and having it on TV. It depends on who's holding it and how you do it. So Roman right now, he has that character where he has that mystique, he has that prestige where when he shows up on TV, it's a special moment. Mm-hmm. That title's special. Everything that's with him, that's about him, is special. Same thing as Seth Rollins. He came out and said, "There's going to be a working man's championship. I'm going to defend it whenever I can." And Cody Rhodes pretty much said the same thing. If he was going to beat Roman at the time, he was going to make that a title that was going to be defended week in and week out. So either or was going to happen. But like I said, I think you look at it in two ways. You look at it as a like I said, two divisions. You're either in Roman's division or you're in Seth Rollins' division. What title are you going to go for? Essentially, that's how I look at it.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think it's also, you mentioned how the prestige is built up. It could be built up multiple ways. I think, especially with Seth, they're already going that route of defending it more often than not. You know, you got a random World Heavyweight Championship defense on Raw, which I'm sure we're going to talk about in a little bit, against Damian Priest. After the match, now they're setting up another defense against Finn Balor. But then you go to NXT, not to get a quick NXT report in here, but Braun Breaker challenges Seth Rollins for the World Heavyweight Championship. So that kind of just paints Seth Rollins' argument here perfectly. I mean, there are so many challengers who could go for this championship who are credible challengers. I think Seth's going to hold on to this championship for a little bit. But, you know, you have guys like Damian Priest, who's been built up superb in the last few months. You know, this is a guy that I remember we were talking around Elimination Chamber, and I was running down all the names who were in the match. And then I was like, and also Damian Priest is in the match because they did nothing for him.
That's
but
true.
Now we're at a point where Damian Priest is, you know, main eventing Backlash with Bad Bunny, you know, having these great matches, having a fantastic World Championship match against Seth Rollins. You look at a guy like Finn Balor, who's also like indirectly become the leader of the Judgment Day through his feud with Edge, having all these amazing matches with Edge, building himself up. Someone who was kind of lost in the shuffle a year or two ago now is kind of in that firm place in the Judgment Day. And now you have someone like Braun Breaker, who is literally kicking out the door of NXT, needs something to get him out of this developmental territory. Here's a perfect way to do that. Put him against Seth Rollins. And, you know, is it jumping the gun a little bit too soon with Braun? Maybe. Obviously, he's not going to win the title, but I mean, what better way to kick off someone's main roster run than to have him immediately challenge for the World Championship? So I think there's a lot that you can do with this championship, and I wouldn't be surprised if they just do everything with it, which it seems like they're already doing. I mean, title defenses on Raw, NXT guys challenging for this championship. There's a lot that you can do here. All I wish and all I hope and all I ask is that they keep it within Raw. Don't start to move to SmackDown, because then that, you know, eliminates the whole purpose of the brand split, which they've been doing anyways. But
that's true.
And to the other question that I asked before, I think my whole take on this is I don't love that they're kind of devaluing the whole Roman holding the championship. However, this coincides with the 1,000 days that we're about to talk about in Collar and Elbow. I feel like we're at a, and maybe this is a hot take, but I'll throw it up there.
Hot takes here. Get your hot takes here.
I feel like we're at a point right now where Roman has done so much for this championship that it's almost just become a prop for him. And what I mean by that is, yes, Roman is the champion, and he's a fantastic champion at that. But right now, for the next few weeks, months, the story is going to be Roman, Solo, Jimmy, Jay, Paul. The world title is going to take a back step just because this story alone is bigger than the Undisputed Championship. Right now. I think that also allows you to carry off of that momentum and put the World Heavyweight Championship as that quote-unquote main championship right now. As Roman is doing his own thing with the Usos, Solo, he doesn't even really need to be defending this championship until probably SummerSlam. There's a rumored match going around that it's going to be Roman and Solo versus the Usos at Money in the Bank. So that's a non-title match. We didn't get a Roman title defense at Night of Champions. So right now, this is a perfect opportunity for the WWE to be like, well, we don't have a defending world champion right now. Let's allow Seth to get as many title defenses in as possible so that when Roman gets back to defending this title, probably against Jey Uso will be his next championship defense. Now Seth has a lot of title defenses under his belt where it's kind of evened out a little bit. And now we have a title that's pretty much on the pedestal that Roman's championship is. It's going to be hard to get on that level right away.
Yeah.
Obviously, like Roman's been a champion for 1,000+ days now, but you have a window now where you can capitalize off of Roman not defending his title. You could take a little cheap shots at him, but don't immediately just bury the whole Roman championship run here. He is a champion for 1,000 days, but do a little bit to capitalize off of the time that you have from now until SummerSlam. And I think that they're doing that. And if they continue to do it, I think you're going to see people putting those championships on the same level.
Yeah, no, I get it. And it stems back to like the the WrestleMania interviews they were doing and stuff like that. And I mean, Seth definitely has some like animosity towards Roman and how he's treated in comparison to how he's been treated. In his time there, as far as him not getting the the machine behind him, essentially, we'll say, like they never seen him as the the face of the company, or however you want to say it. So I think when he says those things in the interview is pretty much like just a reflection on that. Like he's just kind of yeah, Roman's been a champion for 1,000 days, but how many times he's defended it, that type of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the plan, is to get that prestige like we just spoke about, but also bring some allure to WWE. I mean, Roman did it, dude. I mean, obviously he had help with other people, but he brought WWE to a point where now it's back on the map. Not that it really left or anything like that, but now it seems like there's more eyes on it. SmackDown viewership insane this past Friday.
Yeah.
The video of the YouTube views for the kick heard around the world. What was it, like 40? What was it, like 40 million views or something crazy? Or
I think it was total social media views across like all platforms.
Yeah.
For that segment was around 40 million, which is, I mean,
he's on TikTok now too. Like he's like killing TikTok with like millions of followers. And I mean, say what you want, Seth, but I mean, Roman's that guy, dude. I mean, you could be the champion. There's a difference between being a champion and being the guy.
Mm-hmm.
I think, and like only some people can be both,
right?
And that's like Hogan. You had Hogan and you had Macho, right? Mm-hmm. You always have a secondary person. Stone Cold, Rock, if you want to go that way. Cena, I guess you would say, who would be Cena? Orton, I guess. I don't know who would be his equivalent. I guess. I mean, you could say Cena, Orton, Batista, and Brock. I mean, at that time anyway.
Oh yeah, sure.
That class is crazy. But now I look at Roman and Seth as Hogan and Macho. That's pretty much
Cena and Punk.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, you always have to have like a number one, number two, and it's not bad being a number two as long as like the number one is who he or she, whoever he or she is, will say.
Right. And I think that's also kind of tying in two arguments, which I think people are doing a lot right now. It's when you're talking about World Heavyweight Championship versus Undisputed Universal Championship, immediately that becomes a conversation of Roman versus Seth.
Yep. Who's better? Right.
And that's not the argument here. It's obviously Roman's star power it tops everyone else.
Yep.
You can make the argument that Seth is the better overall wrestler. Yep. He is a better, I don't know, character, whatever you want to say.
Good hand, good work.
Good hand, yeah. You can make all those arguments, but that's not what it comes down to when we're talking about is the World Championship on the same level as the Universal Championship. Yep. People have to kind of take those two arguments and pull them apart because I get it. You want to compare the champions, but you also have to talk about the championships themselves. What are they doing creatively? What are they doing booking-wise to present these championships? And that's why I'm talking about how if you're the WWE and you see this time period where Roman's not defending his world title and he's just going to be on SmackDown talking for the next few weeks. I think Roman's set to be on like majority of the shows of the summer until SummerSlam. If you're the WWE, you take this opportunity to make Raw that spot where more oftentimes than not, you're going to see a World Heavyweight Championship defense.
Yep.
This is the summer of the World Heavyweight Championship. So that immediately takes the conversation of Roman versus Seth, which shouldn't be the argument whatsoever, and now becomes the World Heavyweight Championship is being presented one way versus the Undisputed Championship is being presented another way. Both are in some way being presented as a top title. They're both on the same page. That's where we should be going with this. So,
we'll put it this way too. What belt are you going to see main event pay-per-views? The Undisputed Universal. You're not going to see Seth Rollins. I mean, if Roman's not, he's took the night off, you'll probably see the World Heavyweight Championship, just like we've seen at the past show. It opened.
Well, that's a good point. Not to cut you off, but that's a really good point as well. Which championship is going to main event SummerSlam is obviously the big question. But that's also kind of tying in what I've been saying. I think that also is what makes the summer so important, because Roman versus Jay seems to be the match for SummerSlam. I think that's the match that we're getting. And as much as Jay is the top contender for Roman right now, the top story, it's not the biggest match like star power wise.
No.
It's Jey Uso. It's not like a Cody Rhodes or Brock Lesnar. It's a fantastic story, but even with that, it's not going to be the main event story. So now you have Seth Rollins as your World Heavyweight Champion. Can you find someone for Seth to face where come August or come July, whenever the show is happening, will we now be saying, you know what, maybe Seth should be in the main event of SummerSlam? I think that's a goal that they should really be pushing forward, is can we get Seth and the World Heavyweight Championship to main event SummerSlam? I think that will do wonders to push this title forward and be like, all right, that's 1A, 1B. It's not 1 and 2.
Yep. Yeah, no, I agree.
I guess we'll kind of leave it there for outside the ropes. Like I said, there wasn't a lot of big news anyways to talk about. I'm seeing now former WWE star announces pregnancy. Let's see who that is. And Billie Kay. Billie Kay. Congratulations to Billie Kay. She announces her pregnancy.
Congrats.
The Iconics. Great tag team. I was watching some old Iconic stuff when they won the tag titles at Mania. Good moment.
Oh yeah, no, it was great. I think we talk about, was that us or was that me and Jabo? We said like those titles we think they were pretty much created for.
Yeah, I think it was you two. I remember that.
I think everyone's gonna agree that they pretty much created that tag title for the Iconics.
Yeah.
At the time.
Let's read some comments real quick from Paul Ellering before we move on. Does this mean the WWE title history is erased and now the Universal title takes over? How can they fix that? That's another thing that hasn't really been addressed, the lineage of the championships.
Yeah, who knows?
I mean, if you look at the video package that they did for Roman, apparently now they're just considering all world championship reigns under like the world championship moniker. Like you had Roman passing up all these champions like, Diesel, CM Punk, Hogan, but then you had like Billy Watson, like guys like what's his name? Now it's slipping my mind. One of the older wrestlers. All these guys, and it's like, okay, is it just like every world championship under the WWE like ownership? Like, is that just a world, like, because WCW and ECW are owned by WWE, is that the same lineage now? Like, there's a lot of confusing thing. I remember, and I knew that this was going to be, I don't want to get your take on this, but I remember seeing a graphic of that I think WWE's Twitter posted, or like the BT Sports Twitter, which I love. And they posted the top 10 most world championship reigns in WWE. And I think number 7 or number 8 on that list was Jeff Jarrett, because Jarrett held a few world championships in other promotions. Obviously, none in the WWE, but they were considering his championship reigns in the world of the WWE. So, what are they? What are they doing now?
Yeah, I don't. Only thing I can think of is the way they, they're going with Roman's like number of days was he reign like the longest reign as a champion or world champion, or however you want to say it, like holding a main title. That's what they're pretty much putting him as. So like obviously he's the longest reigning, modern, champion, like main champion essentially. Yeah, it was kind of weird. I mean, I don't think it's really weird because they did say, Seth Rollins, they said they put him on and said he's won every major world championship now in WWE. So the NXT, the WWE championship, the Universal championship they included, the red belt,
Right.
and now the world heavyweight. So I guess they just include. I guess they just like everything's like all in one now.
I think
I
what
honestly
they're,
don't know.
and I
Weird.
wouldn't be necessarily opposed to it, is if they're kind of just considering everything as a world championship,
Like a multiverse.
like it's not like
championship.
like it's not like how it's in like chronological order, like Buddy Rogers, Bruno, Ivan Koloff.
Yeah.
Like instead, it's even if there were two world champions, like Cena as WWE champion and Edge as world heavyweight champion,
Yeah.
like both of them are still world champions. So it's
Yeah.
not like a chronological lineage. It's
Yeah.
like if you were a world champion, you are in the lineage of the
world
WWE's world champions.
Yeah.
I don't love that, but at least it makes sense. And you're allowed now to add in more guys into that overall lineage of champions.
Yeah.
I mean, from what I'm seeing on that list of people that they had in the people that Roman toppled, I'm guessing that's your lineage of world champions going forward, and they're just going to consider it as like the world champions.
Yeah, I like that idea better because now you're not. We could bring it back to the devaluing one title over the other. Now it's like now if you do that, they're on equal ground. Like you have these two world champions, or however one universal, one world champion, and now you can kind of now they're under one umbrella. They're
Right.
both champions. So now like their lineage, however they whatever happens with those titles afterwards speaks for themselves. But now they're under. It's not like kind of like what Paul Ellering was asking, like what happens to this lineage? Does it disappear?
Mhm.
Maybe it does. Maybe it's just like you said, it's just all one umbrella of champions. Because I think that the title itself has changed. How many times that the WWF has been around for over like 60 years already? Not obviously including Vince McMahon Sr. But that title wasn't even the same back then. It was a whole different. It was like the WWF or WWF championship. I think it was called another name at one point. So it's been happening. So it probably is smarter just to put, just put all the world champions under one thing and say here's our champions. This is what our lineage is, as opposed to just breaking it up into different. Well, he held this title. He held the Universal. Well, he held the WWE Championship. Well,
he held the Universal Fiend version, and he held
and then
he held the Universal Blue version.
Yeah, like we talked about it. They called it the WWE Heavyweight Championship, and then it was the WWF World Champion. Even the name changed. So like it is better that they just take if you were a champion in the WWE. This is your lineage, and this is how many days you held it. That's it. We shouldn't break it down into multiverse things.
And Paul Ellering also says then they have to recognize Vern Gagne, who held the NWA title for 2,600 days. Luthez at 2,300. Slippery slope, where WWE will rewrite the history. That's interesting too. They've always said it was Hogan, Backlund, Bruno, and Pedro who were the only other men to be WWE champion for 1,000 days, and they're still continuing that. So maybe the NWA isn't being recognized as
Yeah,
world
'cause they don't-
champions.
Yeah, I mean, they don't.
No.
WWE doesn't own NWA. I mean, they have nothing to do with
Right.
NWA or
Right,
anything
exactly.
like that. So
I
they're
want
not
to go
gonna
back in
include-
that video, and I want to take a list of who Roman has passed up to know like who's in that lineage now.
Yeah.
I'm interested to see that.
Yeah, I think it's only they're only considering obviously the WWF/WWE championship lineage.
Yeah.
Not the NWA and Mid-South and Atlantic and all that. No.
Right, and everything before WWF, like WWF, I
Yeah,
saw Billy
including them.
Watson or whoever
Yeah.
else was involved in that.
Yep.
Which, if it works like that, then I'm fine with it. Whatever. Paul Ellering also mentioned one more comment here: Seth versus Finn at SummerSlam in Detroit.
The Demon. No, I'm
Maybe. Maybe there's history there. I think you could do that at Money in the Bank. I don't think that's a SummerSlam match, especially if it goes with what we were talking about of having Seth being that main event of SummerSlam. I think you need a really big opponent for Seth. And I don't know if SummerSlam is the spot for the Finn match.
Yeah, it's rough because one of the rumored matches is the third and probably final match between Cody Rhodes and Brock Lesnar,
right?
With a stipulation apparently that hasn't been seen in a while, like a gimmick match.
Oh, okay.
So I'm kind of curious to see what they bring back, because Cody, Rhodes must bleed. There must be some maybe first blood match. Maybe that'll come back.
I was thinking first blood, maybe a chain match, like not the dog collar. I don't think they're
not a dog collar match. Maybe like a Texas strap. No, they did Texas strap match.
Well, I mean, you could do like a chain. Like have how they do the strap matches. Like obviously you don't have to touch the corners.
Yeah,
but,
I'm trying to.
I mean, actually, maybe they could do that because then that can protect one or the other from a pinfall, doing the four corners. And that's like an old school type of match. So I don't know. Who knows?
I'm trying to think if they should bring back one of those old WCW matches.
Tower of Doom.
Yeah, like
something like that.
What was it? I'm trying to. Was it the bunk, like a bunkhouse brawl?
I don't know if they would go with that. Wasn't that the one? I don't know.
I'm curious because
knowing Cody, it's probably going to be something now that you mention it from WCW. So we'll have to look into that. But nevertheless, we're going to move on to collar and elbow. But we have 5 people in our live stream right now, folks. If you're enjoying what you're seeing right now, make sure you leave a like on this video. And leave us some comments. Get the conversation going. There's 5 people in the chat. Let us know what you think the stipulation for Cody versus Brock will be at SummerSlam. And who do you see Seth facing at SummerSlam? Paul Ellering says Finn Balor. But maybe there's another opponent for him. We'll have to wait and see. But nonetheless, we are going to move into our next segment, Collar and Elbow.
Collar and elbow.
Collar and elbow. We're going to break it down, starting with SmackDown and then ending off with Raw, because I think there's a lot of noteworthy stuff to talk about on each show. So let's start off with...
And SmackDown sucks.
Which is not true. SmackDown was a very good show this week. I think the only thing to really spend some time on, and I'm sure there's other things that we can touch upon, but I think the main thing to talk about is obviously Triple H comes out and he says, this championship 1,000 days is someone you're going to talk about with your grandchildren. I can't do the Triple H voice for that often. It hurts my throat. You see I'm coughing already. But ultimately, he announces Roman Reigns to come out to the ring There is a championship under a mysterious cloth on a table. Roman comes out with the 2 titles and Solo's with him. And Triple H is just like, congratulations for being a champion for 1,000 days. And he awards him the brand new WWE Undisputed Universal Championship. And it is a same design as the previous belts. Big W logo, but this time a black strap with a gold background behind the big W. What were your immediate thoughts on the championship, and have they changed since then, since Friday?
I pretty much knew when just looking at the cloth that it was like the same shape.
Yeah.
As that, so I was like, it's gonna be that. It's gonna be the same title. So I wasn't like really let down by it. I think they were gonna go all out like they did with the World Heavyweight Championship because that's supposed to be a part of like the big gold lineage as well as the WWE Championship lineage. So I know they have to keep them different. You can't just recreate the same World Heavyweight Championship that you just did for Seth. So you got to keep some relevancy to the Undisputed Championship. So I was just like, nah, it's all right. But I mean, I don't hate it. I like the black and gold. Actually, I like the fact that they put the gold behind the W logo. I think it gives it a little bit of a different look, as opposed to. And I kind of like the red strap Universal Championship because I had the black. They added like black to it, so I like when they kind of change it up. I do wish they changed or they added where on the logo it has a red, like the red stripe or whatever swoosh going across. That was black as opposed to red. Yeah. I think they should just kept it black and gold, which wouldn't have been bad. But other than that, I mean, it is what it is. I'm just I'm fine with it. I don't hate it. I don't care.
Yeah, I mean, it's fine. It'll grow on me. Immediately, I didn't like it because the yellow. Well, that's why like the gold. It looked too yellowy. Like it's more of a saturated, bright yellow than it is a gold. And I think the only reason why I think that is because when you compare it to the rest of the gold around the actual championship plate and on the side plates, like that's the gold that you're usually used to. But the fact that this is like very bright gold, I'm kind of hoping that they tone it down a little bit. I feel like if they were to bring down the brightness on the gold, and I don't know if they could do this now, after selling so many of these right after SmackDown went off the air. But maybe if they were able to bring it down like a tad bit and maybe not make it look so mustardy yellow, then it would be fine. The design is what it is. I kind of wish, not to get back into the lineage talk, but like because they're kind of tying all of the lineages together, I kind of wish that there would be a new design that implemented aspects of all the championships to kind of make Roman feel like the ultimate champion of champions, like they're portraying him as. I feel like the World Championship does a better job of that because even they went into the details about how there's a crown at the top to signify Bruno's championship reign. There's 60 diamonds on it to represent the 60 years of the WWE. I think there's 3 lions that represents the McMahon family triangle. Like a lot of details in that. And then you look at this and it's like, well, it's gold.
Yeah, it's like I said, you can't compare that. Like that, the title that Seth has is just freaking. The detail on it is amazing. Like like you said, it has like lions, and even on like the where his like the nameplates are. There's like that's all designed, and I mean, maybe they should have swapped. Maybe they should have Roman that one and then Seth the other one. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, once again, this is a championship that it's become just a prop for Roman at this point.
Yeah, pretty much.
I mean, he was holding a blue strap for 1,000 days.
Yeah.
and we just got over it at a
Yeah, we were
certain
just
point.
whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, like
Yep.
this is it's better that it's on a black strap now. The gold, it fits a championship. It's fine. Like it's whatever, honestly.
Would you be? Do you think that? Not that this would happen,
Mhm.
but do you think that that title would ever be phased out after Roman loses it?
The undisputed championship?
Yeah, and then the one that Seth has becomes like the main title, like at some point, like the. But that, do you think that ever like cross your mind, or you ever any thoughts
Yeah,
on that? Because I thought about it a few times. Like, at some point, obviously whoever beats Roman is gonna, or does he relinquish it at some
right.
point? Does he not lose it and just hands it over and they leave it at that? Or since it's two different television shows, and obviously you have to appease the network execs, you have to have kind of two champions on each show.
Yeah,
To represent each brand. So I don't know.
I haven't thought about that. That's a great question. I think really what it's going to come down to is tomorrow on SmackDown, if Heyman is still holding those two, if he's still holding those two titles, then I think once Roman loses that championship, the titles are going to split again.
Yeah.
What I think is that, and this kind of even bolsters the idea of it being a combined lineage even more. I think because you have this one championship, I think now you're able to say, well, this championship is world championship, like it holds all the lineage, so now you can hold on to the championship and it signifies, the WWE championship, the Universal championship, like it's everything combined.
Yeah.
So I think this championship's going to stick around. It would kind of suck if it didn't, just because of how much they've kind of done to put this as the main world title, the Universal title. I think this was just all part of WWE's plan all along, too, to make the Universal Championship that main title. I feel like we've joked about it once or twice before on the show that, maybe they would just get rid of the WWE Championship altogether and just make it the Universal Championship.
Yeah.
Because it's just WWE Universe. But that's like
that's what it pretty much comes down to.
That's really what it is. And, say what you will, like we're evolving as the time goes on. I think it's important to keep the lineage, the Bruno, Hogan, all of that, because that's important. I think they were able to do that with this new title, but I don't really mind them continuing on with this being the Universal Championship. Just something different. And I think it's working. I think Roman's done a lot to build up the prestige of the title. So I think it's going to stick around, but I think this will be like the champion. It's not going to be like split back into the WWE World Heavyweight Championship or whatever it may be. It'll be interesting to see what happens when Cody holds the title. I mean, I guess this is technically a championship that his dad never won. So,
True.
We'll
see.
Let's talk now about the segment itself. So the Usos were cut off. Their travel was cut off, and they weren't allowed in the building. But here they are in the building. And I love Roman's start to this promo where he just kick him in the face.
Yeah.
Kick him in the face. In the face. Like he really just he had another one of those he had another
This cameraman right here, this is my cameraman.
He had another one of those moments like, I'm the tribal chief. Me.
He did that to me. He kicked me in the face. You kick him in the face.
He had another one of those straight down the barrel moments there, which I love. Roman just going crazy. And he's just screaming at Jay like, you got to fix this. You got to fix this. And then Jimmy steps up. The only one who needs fixing around here is you. Big pop from the crowd. Jimmy cuts a great promo. Jay is in the corner just like twiddling his fingers like Shawn Michaels. Just doing the little,
we'll do this.
Yeah. And it finally comes down to Solo. And we've mentioned in recent weeks building up to WrestleMania, how Solo had gotten much more in the story. And now it seems to be full blown, you know, for a while, Solo was kind of just like a tag-along character, like from Clash at the Castle up until like the build up to Mania. He was kind of just that muscle, but wasn't really doing much in terms of story. And I think Cody really brought that story out of him being, you know, are you just going to be Roman's sidekick or whatever? And now Solo's fully in the story, actually showing some character development too, which is, you know, something that we thought is Solo just going to be the one who's just. I remember, I think you were the one that said that how Solo never puts his one up a while back. Well, now Solo's been doing that for a while, but he was given the mic and he says, you know, I acknowledge you, Tribal Chief, but these are my brothers. And he sides with the Usos, Big Pop again. And again, Roman's just going crazy on him. Jimmy just slaps the taste out of his mouth. And he gives him that one ultimatum, like, are you going to stay there on your island of relevancy, or are you going to, you know, join us? And you get the tip, you know, the classic Roman crying.
Yeah, the
crocodile tears. Hugs Jimmy. You know, it's a feel-good moment, and he just puts that mic up, and he's like, nah. And Solo spikes his brother. Jimmy goes down. Jay's standing next to him. Roman's got the stoic face on. They walk out of the ring. Paul's coming up to Roman, and he goes, what about Jay? What about Jay? And he just gives that line. He's going to do what he always does. Fall in line. End SmackDown. This is the greatest fucking storyline of all time. I'm sorry. Look, this is another conversation we could have.
Hot takes here. Get your hot takes here.
Is it?
What, the greatest storyline?
Or is it the greatest? All right, at least WWE, because
it might be.
Is it at, like, we were talking about this at Elimination Chamber and the Royal Rumble, but like every week, of course, there was that little period around Backlash where
we were just like,
really wasn't. But that was it. Like, for the majority of the time, it's been story. Obviously, I think your top 3 stories in history, WWE, Hogan and Savage, Austin McMahon, and the Bloodline. I think those are the top 3 stories. I don't know if you could say that it's topped either of the other 2 storylines. Longevity, you know, depends where you start from. But I mean, if you're looking at it like the Bloodline started when Paul Heyman was sitting on the couch with Roman right after SummerSlam until now, that's a long ass story that they've been telling.
I mean, it is. You go back on YouTube, that's where the story starts.
I mean,
well, it starts when Roman comes back at SummerSlam.
Oh,
beats the shit out of the Fiend and Braun Strowman. But
I mean, then immediately it goes into the Jay stuff. So
that's what they start. I mean, that's what, like I say, go on YouTube, watch that whole the Bloodline storyline, and that's where it starts. So it's been 3 years almost.
I mean, so when you're looking at it, from a longevity standpoint, obviously the Bloodline trumps Hogan and Savage. Austin McMahon, probably not. I mean, that started in 98, 97. And it ended whenever Austin left, pretty much. That was the right. I mean, I guess so. I guess you can say that.
Stopped at 17 because he joined Vince McMahon.
Yeah. I mean, that's true too.
Which is
okay, sure. So that was, so even if it was 98 to like 2001, that's still, you know.
Yeah, I'd probably say 97. Maybe 97.
Okay.
Maybe 90. When did he first done McMahon.
Right. That's what I'm trying to think.
Yeah.
Whenever
'cause
that was, I think. Well, regardless, I don't think that the Bloodline storyline is as long as Austin and McMahon. Will probably, when we're all said and done, will be at around the same length.
Yeah.
But I think that's where we're at right now, where it's 1A and 1B are Austin McMahon and the Bloodline. I think Hogan and Savage has, I think the Bloodline's taken them at this point.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. It's I just looked up 97.
97. Okay.
97 is when Austin dropped the stunner.
So,
But it
yeah,
was obviously a little,
much longer than the Bloodline.
a little bit before that, him fighting the authorities and, Sergeant Slaughter and Gorilla Monsoon. But the McMahon kind of stuff started in 97. So, yeah. That's a long ass storyline, dude.
Yep. But regardless of the length of the stories, I think you're definitely at a spot right now where I think it's hard to put Austin McMahon not as number one.
Yeah, no, it's still number one.
So is it safe to say that your 1, 2, and 3 is Austin McMahon number 1, the Bloodline number 2, and Hogan and Savage number 3?
I think so, man. I don't know. I can't think of any major. I mean, if you want to throw Sean and Brett in there, you can.
Well, I mean, that's more behind the scenes stuff anyway.
They might trump all three of those.
But I mean, Marco, we haven't even touched the breakup yet. Like, we are just scratching the surface.
Yeah.
We have a whole summer to get through. This story is far from being over.
I mean, this sort of break. I mean, we'll see.
Well, I'm saying they're just starting now.
And it's not fully even broken up. It's like, Civil War. It's like Bloodline Civil War. It's like you have these guys on this side and possibly the Usos on this side and Roman and Solo on the other side. And I mean, I'm gonna say this throughout the whole thing. Still can't trust Solo. I don't trust that guy.
Well, I mean, he just proved that on SmackDown that you can't trust Solo.
Hey, you seen Roman shoulder check him, and Roman got a little scared. So I don't know. Even he's kind of wary of wait, where's this dude lie? Like he didn't wait. So I got to scale back a little bit. So when Solo's like, "These are my brothers," and walked over there, did you see Roman try to bush his face or? No, you saw Russell. I didn't do anything to Solo. He let Solo walk away.
Yep.
So that shows you right there the level of
That's a good point.
Hesitancy with Roman. Yes, I know. I kind of manipulate. I can manipulate Jay. Jimmy's always been that outlier. He's been the I'm just gonna fall in line because that's my brother.
Mm-hmm.
Not for Roman. I'm gonna do whatever my brother says, and we're brothers. And I'm going to follow his suit and whatever he thinks is best. That's what I'm going to go with. But I still don't like Roman.
Yeah,
actually, and then you've seen it right here. I mean, he had that whole thing. Solo's a different story. We don't know where his allegiance lies at all because he doesn't talk. Which is the best part of this storyline is you have no clue what he's thinking. But that one time when he's just like, "These are my brothers." That's all he said. He didn't say with them till the death or whatever. He's just like. Yeah, I mean, I know you're Roman Reigns, but they're my blood brothers, so I'm going to side with them. But at the same time, you give me the word, I'm going to take them out too. So you don't know if I'm telling you, Solo is that weird outlier where he could just flip on anybody. He could turn on Roman at some point, which I think is probably going to be the beginning of Roman's downfall is when when he loses Solo because he already lost kind of Jimmy. He lost Jay with his actions. The only person he hasn't lost with his actions yet is Solo, because I think Solo's as evil as him.
Right.
That's why.
I think it's going to come down to. I think Roman has to fight all three of these guys individually at one point or another.
I think so. Yeah.
I think it's going to start with Jimmy. Maybe that's the Money in the Bank match. Or maybe they're just going to do it on SmackDown. I think you start with Jimmy.
Yep.
I think SummerSlam has to be Jay.
Yep.
And I think that is when Solo will turn on Roman or vice versa, however they end up doing it.
Yeah, something.
And Solo will be the final match for Roman, but I think Roman will still find a way to keep the championship, and that will be the end of the Bloodline story, because then you'll be in a situation where Roman walks into WrestleMania with no one. And it'll have to be Roman and Cody just straight up one-on-one. That also questions where Paul is put into all of this. You know, like, obviously Paul can't fight for the world championship, but how is he going to split away from Roman? Because part of me feels like if Roman's going to defend this title at WrestleMania, he has to do it like all on his own.
Yeah.
Like no Paul, no Solo, no Usos, no one. So maybe this is it for Paul. Maybe after this storyline is over, Paul Heyman, obviously no one knows what he's thinking.
Yeah, just right.
But,
I mean,
but maybe he thinks this is it. Like there is nothing else that Paul Heyman can contribute to WWE that is better than this Bloodline storyline. So maybe that's how he kind of ties away from Roman. He's just like, you've lost your family, you've lost your title, you've lost this, that, and the other thing, but you've lost yourself, and I can't be a part of this anymore. And he just walks away. You know?
Yeah, that's a possibility. And you have like obviously you have the history with Heyman and the Anoa'i family. Him,
right? Yeah, you've turned
Simone's,
against your legacy. Yeah. I've been as much involved in your family as you have been.
Yeah,
and
even before you were born.
Yeah,
I know your father, your uncles, I manage your cousins in WCW or whatever. And yeah, he can. I think that's going to be like that's probably going to be the final like thing is when he loses Paul to his actions. Then that's going to be I think that's going to be that's when you're going to see the waterworks, like the actual like the drama, the sadness when he like Roman is just like all like you said stands alone, like he like turned his back, because that's been like the other like underlying like storyline is Roman's always out for himself. He's not really he's going to use whoever he can to get to where he needs to be. At the end of the day, you're kind of useless to him, but he could turn on you as he fired Paul Heyman. Remember in the middle?
Yep.
I mean, middle of the storyline, he got rid of him easily. Like same thing with Jay, same thing with now Jimmy. Like I said, I think Solo. What's going to happen is there's going to be an instance where he has to put his hands on Solo. The way he mushes like Jay's face, the way he mushes Jimmy. Something's going to happen where he's going to get frustrated and he's going to push or do something to Solo, and Solo's going to like look at his shoulder or something like that, or like look down, and then Roman's just going to be like, oh, what the fuck did I just do? and that's going to be the big pop, the Samoan spike probably. And then he's going to grab him and freaking hit him with the spike, and then that's going to be it. Yeah, man, I can see it. I can envision it happening. I can see like the Roman using his acting chops of him being scared of Solo, and just everyone just like Heyman on the outside like.
I want to know how they would do it to allow Roman to keep the title. Like obviously it would have to be like a cheap winner or something, but I wonder how they would do it.
DQ.
Something.
Yeah,
like
just
that.
like
I guess that
crazy
doesn't really matter at the end of the day, but
just kicks the shit out of Roman, just manhandles him, takes him outside, beats him with the chair, does the lays him on the table, does that like the Samoan splash off of the barricade, kind of like how he did with KO, something like that. So he doesn't pin him. He just he still wins, but he wins by DQ because Solo loses it. It just kicks the shit out of him. Maybe the Usos join in. Maybe they all just jump him.
They all just jump him. Before we move on to Raw, I want to talk a little bit about the Money in the Bank field right now, because we have 3 men on each side. I was going to say
you have to kind of bring in SmackDown too, because we do have some competitors on SmackDown.
So I just want to get your thoughts on the field so far. The women, you have Zelina Vega, Becky Lynch, and Zoe Stark, And the men's, you have Ricochet, Shinsuke Nakamura, and of course,
Yeah.
LA Knight. What are your thoughts?
Man, I'm excited for LA Knight. I'm excited Shinsuke is back and like
Me
and
too.
and this is for the people out there that, obviously Vince McMahon's running the show. If you watch Monday Night Raw, I'm not entirely sure that is the case.
Yeah, if you saw
That-
this week's episode of Raw, that was not
KO and Gunther
Yeah.
fucking tore that house down, dude. That
Just
match
a
was
random episode of Raw. They decided to give a pay-per-view 5-star worthy
damn.
match.
That match was crazy, dude. Obviously it ended in a shitty finish, but
We have to. It's Raw.
it went through like 5 commercial breaks. There's a lot of stuff to talk about. Zoe Stark, for one thing, we talk about them not pushing young talent, and we need to get, obviously you have Alexa's gone right now, you have Carmella's gone, Charlotte's gone. So they gotta start building up these, women that are there. And I think that's what I'm saying. The reason why I know Vince McMahon is not running the show is because Zoe Stark is a fucking Triple H girl. When she was in NXT, that was his girl. That was who he even her gimmick was kind of denim jacket with the leather. She has she's like the female Triple H pretty much. And her pairing her with Trish Stratus shows you right there that they're all fucking behind.
Yep.
Zoe Stark. They want to push her to the moon at some
Putting
point.
her in a feud with Becky. Absolutely.
Yeah, putting her right in the main event spot, dude. I'm liking the Money in the Bank. I'm hoping if they keep the, I don't want to say riffraff. How do I say this? If they keep the main stars out of the Money in the Bank match, give it the Money in the Bank should be mid card. It shouldn't be any main event people in it. I don't want to see Cody Rhodes in it. I'm hoping he's not in it, but he might show up in it. But I think it should be fielded for the Ricochets, the Shinskes, the Bronson Reeds, those guys, the guys that are the workhorses, essentially, the good hands.
Yeah,
as we
the
like
good
to
hands.
say.
Well, you have 4 matches tomorrow that you're going to see, 2 for the men, 2 for the women. You have, and let's get your predictions on these. Shotzi versus Io Sky. You have Michin versus Bailey. Those are the women. For the men's, you have Santos Escobar versus Mustafa Ali and Butch versus Baron Corbin.
Yeah. Damn. I'm gonna go Butch.
I think so, yeah.
Damn, the Santos Escobar and Ali. I might go Santos, I think.
Yeah, it's probably going to end up being Santos.
Yeah. Damn, those are all banger matches too. I'm gonna go EO. Actually, I'm gonna go EO, and I might go Beechin for over Bailey because I'm not sure if they're gonna put both Bailey and EO Sky, but they could. I don't know.
Part of me thinks that they will.
Yeah.
Just so there's the story there of Bailey and EO turning on each other or some shit like that.
And that kind of defeats my thing where I just want maybe Shotzi or EO in it, and then Mishin, of course, for the ladies. Obviously, maybe you want one main event person in there, but like I said, I kind of want to see a different field for this Money in the Bank.
Yeah. I feel like EO's definitely going to be in there. I think the wild card is Michin versus Bailey because you could get an upset here and have Michin go into the Money in the Bank.
Yep.
I would be cool with that. And I think that progresses the story of EO wants to win this on her own. Bailey keeps trying to interfere and help Michin, and that costs her the Money in the Bank. There's some stuff that you could do on that. So, so that's the women's side. For the men's, I agree. I think Butch will be in the match.
Yeah.
As far as Santos versus Ali, I'm going to go with Santos just because Ali and Corbin are both in NXT right now.
That's what I'm going with.
I mean,
Yeah.
These are kind of the men's matches. Santos and Ali is going to be good. I don't know why they put Ali and Baron Corbin in these matches if they're free agents, first of all, and they're on NXT. kind of threw me off. But
Yeah, that's kind of weird. But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't mind like the men's match would be Butch, Santos, Shinsuke, Ricochet,
LA Knight.
and LA Knight. Which I mean, I like that. Like it's like a new crop almost of like guys that are like mid card, and now this is their chance to, get a guaranteed, world title match.
Right.
I like that idea.
Also, something interesting to note is that this year the field is only 6 people.
Yeah.
So going back to the roots of Money in the Bank.
Yep, I like. See, that's
only 6 people.
I like it.
I mean, maybe this will be for the better. Maybe kind of focusing on the 6 people in the ring, not doing too much. Having too many people, too many chefs, if you will.
Yeah.
Because in recent years, it's been like 8 or 9 people.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's too much.
But now, kind of narrowing it down to 6, I think, like you said, you kind of focus on who those mid-card people are.
Yep.
I think it's anyone's ball game, really. I don't even think LA Knight is I think he's the favorite to win. No, I think he's the favorite to win, but I also could see, someone else kind of taking that spot, like, Shinsuke, maybe. No, I think it's LA Knight. Never mind, it's LA Knight.
It's that and then for the ladies, who is it? It's you said it's Zoe.
For the women, I think there's more of an interesting field of like people that could technically win it. Zoe Stark, Becky, Zelina, either Io or Shotzi, and either Michin or Bailey. I think any of them have a good chance to do. I think Zoe Stark's probably going to do it.
You think so? Wow. Okay.
I think so. Early prediction is I think Zoe will.
Damn, that shoot her to the moon. What if she cashes in on Asuka?
Yeah.
And takes it.
I mean, it depends how long.
Or Rhea. I forgot you can cash in on Rhea too.
Depends how long Trish is going to be around for. I think that's another important thing to note.
I mean, we talked about on the Chick Foley show last week that she's supposedly going to be on every. I mean, she might not be wrestling. Yeah. She's going to be at every Monday Night Raw leading up to, I believe, SummerSlam. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
So we'll see about Money in the Bank. But I think the fields right now are pretty good. Even if they put just like 6 no names in there, it's Money in the Bank. It's going to be a good match regardless. And we've seen each pay-per-view so far this year, even with a subpar to even poor build, it's still been a fantastic show. So even with the field where whoever it may be, it's still going to be a fantastic matchup. We have Circle Debate. Ivan is in the chat, and I just want to say shout out to Ivan. I heard about what happened. I am so sorry to hear that. I hope you're doing well, man. Shout out to you. Shout out to Circle Debate. Shout out to the league. Hope everyone's doing well. Hope you're doing well. And just all the love to you, Ivan. But regardless, I think Money in the Bank will be a great show nonetheless.
Yeah. Yeah, man. What else? Seth Rollins. We gonna jump
so let's talk about Raw now. You want to start off with the Seth Rollins Priest match, or what are we doing?
I don't know. There's so much good things that happened on Raw. It was a crazy. I mean, we kind of we went into a little bit with KO and Gunther just freaking out of nowhere. Hey, you want to fight? Let's go fight. So then so my thing is it cuts to Corey Graves and he's like we don't have this match penciled in on the we have something else coming up. Like why he can't just come out here and do a match. Do you think that? I mean, obviously we could be worked. But do you think that was a last minute like let's get out there? Do you think someone's segment got cut? And Triple H was like, you know what? Let's fucking put Gunther and KO in a match. Let's because we already have the storyline with the Imperium and KO and Sammy. Obviously that match is gonna happen at some point. They're gonna face them for the tag titles, but let's just get it out of the way. KO's not gonna challenge Gunther for the IC title at any point. Not that it's beneath him, but I mean, he doesn't have to. So let's just make it happen now. Let's go. When are you going to get that one-on-one match?
I mean,
ever.
That match was 17 minutes. That whole segment was 20. I don't think someone got cut for it.
Yeah, no.
I do like the impromptu nature of that whole thing.
It was cool.
Just want to say, I think they did the whole impromptu fight thing way too much on this Raw. You went from Gunther and Kevin straight into the women's tag.
Was that an impromptu match too?
Yeah. They were backstage. The Casey and Kate and Carter were there.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah.
Too much of that. But whatever. Still fantastic matchup. I was very pleased to see Gunther and Kevin Owens fighting. Because with the stories that they're in right now, who knows if we are going to see that match for the Intercontinental title or on a pay-per-view. At this rate, you might as well do Gunther versus Sammy now. Like, you already got that. That will probably be even better than Gunther and Kevin Owens. And that one, I think you can even do on pay-per-view because imagine Gunther versus Sami Zayn in London for Money in the Bank.
Yeah.
That would be good.
Just keep Riddle away. Don't make it a 6-man with Riddle and KO. Just
that's the thing. They're gonna do Riddle versus Gunther, and
I think that's what it's gonna be at Money in the Bank. It's looking like, you think?
Yeah,
that's gonna happen.
I just don't care about Riddle.
Yeah, I think it will be a good match though. That's a good thing is, they'll have a banger of a match. They'll beat the shit out of each other because people forget. Matt Riddle used to be an MMA fighter, so they can shoot a little bit.
Great match.
Yeah,
Can I rant a little bit?
Yeah, go ahead. I mean, the
floor
is yours.
It's not really a rant, but I gotta say something, and I'll throw in a hot take for it.
Oh boy.
Yeah. Just give me a second. Where the fuck is it?
Hot takes here. Get your hot takes here.
I have a critique of how Triple H has been presenting a lot of wrestlers, at least in the recent weeks, months. Two examples in particular, because we're talking about Riddle. Riddle went from, yes, I understand. I know a lot of people did not like the scooter and the flip-flops with the birds and the weird jokes and stuff, but a character.
Yeah.
To now, I saw this video package that they did for Riddle, and it was like 2 seconds of it was like the humorous stuff, and then the rest of it was just like serious Riddle, but like not serious too. And he's also talking about him being a cage fighter, but he's also just talking about like wanting to be a wrestler and a champion and having fun. And it was all over the place. I don't know if you saw this on Raw.
Yeah, no, I've seen it because they did one for
this week or last week, but
they did Gargano too as well recently.
He's another one. I'll get to him in a minute. But they went from Riddle, who was this not a great character, but a strong character presence on Raw, to now just being another guy who just wants to fight. Austin Theory. He had a character in, Vince McMahon's world with the selfies and everything. Now he is just another guy. On SmackDown, he did the match with Pretty Deadly. I couldn't care less. I'm over Theory. I think we're all over Theory as well. And then you have people like Johnny Gargano, Candice LeRae, even to an extent, Zoe Stark, who are they just feel like wrestlers. They don't feel like there's much to them right now. There's no like character to get behind. And I think that is where you see the difference between this current WWE to Vince's WWE, where it's right now, everyone is on an even playing field as far as the focus is on the in-ring work, which is great because that's what everyone's like the overall internet wrestling community majority seems to favor is the wrestling ability. And that's fine. I mean, AEW is so many people love it so much because of that. I think what the downside comes from is because everyone is just focusing on the in-ring talent, now it becomes, well, where are like the character presence? Because in Vince's WWE, I wouldn't say everyone had a character, but like everyone had a type of role, you know, and this harkens all the way back to the Attitude Era. Like even all the lower mid-carders, everyone had a position on the roster.
I was going to say that. Yeah. Everyone was over in the Attitude Era. Like you could have the shittiest gimmick and you were over.
But it's not so much that because the Attitude Era is a bad example because you're right, everyone was over. But it's not so much about the popularity. It's just the fact that everyone fit into the roster. Everyone had a spot. Like you had your main event guys all the way down to your job guys.
You had your own gimmick. That's the thing. You had your own thing.
Right. Everyone had like something to set them apart. And even in the recent, you know, in the last few weeks of Vince being around, as much as people hate it, like you even look at something like the 24/7 division where like Akira Tozawa, R-Truth, they had their thing that they were doing. Dana Brooke and Tamina and all them, they had their thing that they were doing. But now in Triple H, Akira Tozawa is just another guy who's losing. Like Akira Tozawa used to be a character that, yes, the ninjas stuff was dumb. The 24/7 as a whole was, you know, a weird concept, but there was a character to it. It wasn't just Akira Tozawa is a wrestler who is in trunks and he is going to lose this match. You know, there's more of a personality behind it. So when I watch those video packages for like Johnny Gargano and Candice LeRae, that it's literally just them saying, "Hi, my name is Johnny Gargano, and I'm here to be a WWE wrestler."
Yeah.
What else?
So you're basically saying that Vince McMahon is a genius and what he does.
It's not that, but
what I think is they should, you know, for as much people that you know don't like when Vince McMahon is at the helm of things, at the same time, this is what you get. You want a wrestling show, now you get wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
I think you're. I mean, I haven't really heard that outcry yet. Which I mean, in my mind, you think about it like, wow, it's like, the pacing of Raw is like match after match after match after match. It's really no like in between. Obviously, if you miss TVs and like on SmackDown, you have the Grayson Waller effect, like that type of stuff. But like, there's no like backstage segments are kind of gone. There's really like no in between like comedic things. Which I mean, I guess give or take, like I always go back to what Eric Bischoff said with wrestling. It should be a buffet, right?
Right.
You should be able to pick and choose what you like about it. And then, whatever you don't like it.
Yeah.
We shouldn't have to be all focused on one aspect of wrestling.
Right.
It should be a wide variety. Like, hey, I might not like the Akira Tozawa stuff, but I do like, Otis, his stuff, or Otis.
Yeah.
I might not like the OT stuff, but I like, the wrestling aspect of it. So like with WWE at even before Triple H took over as well, like you had that variety. Yes, it was shitty, like, the maximum male models. That might not be a thing or whatever, but there was something, the next segment might be for you. Just that segment wasn't. But now it's like you just said, it seems like it's like everything's the same. It's like, I'm a fighter, I'm a wrestler.
Exactly.
Everyone can't be a prize fighter like Kevin Owens.
Right.
Everyone can't be a purebred wrestler like Gunther. Like he needs his own. You are right. And before you go, I'm gonna just in my own personal thing, like right now, I'm like kind of scaling back on like my figures and stuff like that. I'm like only displaying certain figures, and I just got these like new these like acrylic stands where you can like. Just so I could put a few out. And I'm going back and I'm looking at like the new gen figures, and I'm looking at the, the golden era or the golden age figures, Hogan, Macho Man, Big Boss Man, like so I'm like looking at these, and as I'm going down, I'm starting to see like, Stone Cold, Triple H, Undertaker, and where these characters in the 80s and 90s are like colorful, they had gimmicks and they all had their own lanes. They're all now attitude. They're all wearing black trunks, black this. Like it's like there was no like. It seemed like obviously you had like Godfathers and like Mankind and all that stuff. So you had those like characters, but like you could see like the shift and like the evolution of those characters. Like I mean, as much as you want, Goldust was like the most forward pushing, like ahead of its time character. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, you could probably do Goldust now if you did it right. If you did it the right way, Goldust could be like a character to be used in the WWE. So like I said, just looking at those like figures and like thinking, man, like look how cool they look, like the gear that they wore, the gimmicks that they had, and now like that just you bringing that up, I'm like that's the stark like contrast right there. Is everyone's a wrestler, no one's a character anymore, and I think that's going back to the Roman thing. That's why I think he's a prestige because he's the character.
He's the character.
He's Roman Reigns, and there's no one that's going to be like Roman Reigns. At all. So yeah, I mean, you're right.
To your point, because I think you painted it out perfectly. That's the point that I was trying to get to, and I didn't get to it, so I'm glad that you did. But I think you also mentioned how it's WWE was a variety show. That it was really like, if you really think about it, it was half and half.
Yeah.
At least in the 2022, 21, 20. How it was half wrestling, half entertainment. Like that's sports entertainment right then and there. Now, I think they're in a spot where they're obviously focusing on the in-ring, the wrestling, which is great. There's nothing wrong with focusing on the in-ring, perception of wrestling, because that's what wrestling is and that's what people love. However, if you're going to do it, I feel like you really have to commit all the way. Like, AEW is doing it perfectly. Like, they are focusing on the wrestling aspect of it, but they're doing it in a way that is entirely about the wrestling. Yes, you have like a few of the characters, like Jericho Appreciation Society or whatever it may be, but those are gimmicks that are related to like wrestling. Like those are wrestling gimmicks, and it's still the focus is on the in-ring talent. Like you see like 1 minute promos, 30-second promos, backstage stuff. Maybe, you're starting to see a little bit more in-ring promos and stuff like that, but it still works. It's still, those wrestling promos. The WWE, it's like they're focusing on the in-ring stuff, which is great, but they still have a lot of lingering aspects to the sports entertainment that they haven't tied up those bows yet, like the Bloodline. That's why the Bloodline stands out so much, because the rest of it is just, wrestlers in black trunks. And I think when you have those two worlds that are so impactful, you need to pick either you're going to fully go in on the wrestling, which is what AEW is doing, or you're going to do half and half. Obviously, you can't just do all the entertainment, because then it would just be the Bloodline soap opera for 2 hours. But you can't have it be, 75% wrestling, or maybe that's a bad ratio. Like, 2/3 of it being wrestling, 1/3 of it being this weird entertainment. Like, you need to give more of a balance to it, because now the Bloodline is set apart from everything else, which is great because it's the top thing, but it's number one is the Bloodline. Number two is just this mishmash where you have some of these characters, but not really these characters. Like Maximum Male Models is a great gimmick, and they should be, one of those great tag teams, but they're just mumbled in this big, 60% of the roster is just, I'm here to fight you type thing. That's where like Austin Theory and Matt Riddle are just in this like this waiting room, this purgatory where like you don't know where they are right now. And you mentioned like, you have Hogan and Savage turn into Austin and Rock with these big personalities. You have Roman as your personality, and then it's just
no one else.
and
Except for Rollins, but
well, yeah, Rollins. Like you have your outliers, like your Rollins and your Cody and your Roman, but I feel like everyone else in that mid card is just like the mid card. You could do so much with these guys, and they're just failing to capitalize on giving them individual stories. I've talked so much about how, and I'm sorry for going on for too much about
no,
this.
that's
wrap
fine.
up the show, but
continue.
We've talked so much about how the women in WWE, if you're not Bianca or Charlotte or Becky, you're just meshed. You're just given random 3-minute matches. Like even in Damage Control, there was opportunity to do something with that. And I think they kind of just capped it off. Like you could give these women stories, but they're just not doing it for some reason. You could give Johnny Gargano or a Dexter Lumis or an Ali or Baron Corbin. You could give them stories. I don't know what. I think they need to find a little bit more of a balance between the entertainment and the wrestling, or they just need to go fully on the wrestling, which is hard to do for 3 hours.
Yeah.
They need to just I'm not sure what exactly, but they need to pinpoint where they want this company to go. Do you want it to be this wrestling centric, what AEW is all about? In that case, something like Cody and Brock is perfect because that is a wrestling storyline.
Yeah.
Or do you want that variety? Because after the Bloodline, you have to figure out what you're going to do here.
Yeah.
I don't know. That was my rant. Maybe it didn't even make sense, but that's kind of where I'm at right now. Is they need to start nailing. Bottom line is they need to start pinpointing what they want this company to look like, and they need to model their wrestlers around it.
Yeah.
Do you want that balance, or do you want to just be the wrestling company? Because right now you have at least 50% of the roster, maybe 60, who are just doing nothing. They're just filling spots, and it's not working.
Yeah, no, yeah, I agree, and that's why I kind of look to NXT. NXT's doing what WWE used to do with the backstage segments, the outside segments, the video packages, all that stuff. So and they're mixing, and you get the wrestling aspect as well. So
yeah,
I mean, and I think like I said, NXT is kind of doing that. So if you're looking for that stuff, that's what they're pretty much doing. And I think I read something earlier. Nick Khan said something to the fact where he thinks NXT could be its own separate brand at some point, and aside from a developmental if they wanted to. So I think maybe that's what they're going towards. Maybe NXT is going to be that nostalgic sports entertainment realm, and then WWE is going to be the wrestling realm, But it kind of stinks because now you get anyone in NXT, if that's the case, obviously I'm making this up. I have no clue if they're doing that, but you take the sports entertainment person and bring them into the main roster that's more wrestling focused. What does that leave that person? So
exactly.
They have to have that bridge between the two. And you always tell that things change because some people don't, there are people that are oh, what the hell? Seth Rollins, he's such a great wrestler, blah, 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 but he's so annoying with the laughing and his, and his crazy clothes that he wears and stuff like that. But that's sports entertainment. That's why I watch it. I love the fact that he comes out with the lace shirts or the bright colored suits or the crazy gear that he wears every pay-per-view. That's that's nostalgic for people like me because that's what Macho Man back in the day. Go to watch any Macho Man match. The dude was the most brightly colored superstar known to man. It's his gear was incredible. And that's what you're looking for. I don't want to see black trunks, black boots. No offense.
Yeah, those critiques of the the Seth laughing and everything. Those are from fans who want to see that fully sport presentation.
Yeah,
and it's that's fine. The way that WWE is doing it right now and pushing that in-ring action completely works. I love it. I love what WWE is doing right now. Matches like Gunther and Kevin Owens, everything is fantastic. Yeah. But you still have those. I think that's what it boils down to. Is you have those little things that you need to kind of tie up and figure out where you want these people to go, where you want this direction of the company to go. But I think they're on the right track. Absolutely. I think that's just where you have such a big roster where it's like, all right, Roman, Cody, Seth, boom, they're good.
Yeah.
What about the rest of this now?
Yeah.
You have 3 hours and 2 hours. You can make it work. It's just, you mentioned I'm going into it again, but you mentioned the long matches, like match after match after match. Gunther versus Kevin Owens was a great match, but it was also 17 minutes.
Yeah.
Like, you could start doing a few of these shorter matches to get like Gargano or Miz or these guys on the card to give them stories. Like, not everything needs to be long, drawn-out matches. Seth and Damian was like 20-something minutes.
Yeah.
Like, I love the in-ring action, but you could also allow Raw to tell stories. You could have a fucking great match in 8 minutes or 7 minutes.
Yeah. Those are the matches back in the day where they were like 20-minute or 30-minute Broadways. Those are the matches you would see on the pay-per-views or premium live events now. But like that's what those are reserved for. And even on those pay-per-views back in the day, there was like 5-minute, 6-minute matches just to move along the show. So you don't, like you said, you don't have to have a long match to tell a whole story. Like you have a long match if it's more than one person in the match. Like if it's a triple threat, that might be a long match because it's a triple threat.
Yep.
A one-on-one doesn't have to go 30 minutes. I mean, unless it's like, AEW and they do like a 30-minute time limit, that type of thing. Or if it's a 60-minute Iron Man match and you have to go 60 minutes. Most matches can go, like you said, like 10 minutes, 12, maybe even 13.
Yeah, it's TV
minutes.
We're talking about here. Like, it doesn't need to be.
Yeah.
Save the long matches for the pay-per-views.
Yeah, and like, I'd like to see more. Well, I mean, this is so weird to even say. I want to see more like backstage stuff, like more like kind of like comedy type of things. Like, I'd like to see like the ladies get like involved in like the comedy stuff. You don't really see that. Like, what the heck happened to Ding Dong Hello? Like that.
Yeah.
Shit, they don't do that show anymore. Like, that was amazing. Like, I mean, obviously she's like serious damage control Bailey now, but bring back Ding Dong Hello Bailey. That was good shit, pal.
There's good shit, pal. I'm going to just say it again. If the WWE really wants to have their audience love their product, 100% of the audience love their product, just give me like a few weeks as head writer of WWE. Vince, Paul, Nick, if you guys are listening, give me like 4 weeks, give me a month, and I will make the WWE the greatest it's ever been. I promise you. I think I'm going to start a show on the Tavern that's just me booking the WWE so that eventually that'll be like my portfolio and my resume. So that when I apply for a job at the WWE, I'll be like, well, I've already booked your next 5 years. Have at it. Nevertheless. Anything else from Raw that we want to talk about?
No, I think that was it. I mean,
yeah.
Cody getting slapped in his face by Dominic, and Dominic still getting the nuclear level heat that he so rightfully deserves. I mean, you can argue. I mean, everyone, obviously MJF, great heel, people boo him, but I don't know. I mean, they let him talk. They don't let Dominic say one word.
And Don Callis has been getting the Dom Mysterio hate too. So
yeah, because of the Kenny by God Omega.
Do you think the Dominic heat is ever going to like cap off, or do you think that's just his thing now?
As long as he's partnered with Rhea, because people hate that he's with Rhea too. But dudes specifically, and some ladies probably hate the fact that he gets to hang around with Rhea, and she's like, they're whatever they are on TV, however you want to call it, their weird relationship. Like, you get that jealousy from people. Just like my wife, like she'll I'll be watching it. Me and my son will be watching it, and she'll come down and she hates Dominic, like just how he looks. Like, it's like he has like the smug
how
look.
He looks.
Yeah, just like he has that punchable face, as people like to say. He's not. I mean, he comes off like he's probably the nicest guy. That's the other thing. He's probably like the nicest guy in the world. Probably a good kid. Like, not on screen, but he just puts it out there. And I think like I always tell her this, like the guys that are like the greatest heels are usually the nicest because they're not a-holes in real life. They're really nice guys. So when they get to like let loose and they get to like live like vicariously through that character, they're just gonna go all out and be like Jericho. Like if you ever see him like in interviews, like super nice guy, like really nice. But then when he's on TV, complete asshole. MJF, haven't seen him be nice. There was a video circulating with the lady that does their gear. I forget her name. She's like, I mean, she's been doing like wrestling gear for like years and years, even in WWE.
The video with MJF.
Yeah, like being like really like nice to her and sweet and like, giving her a hug and all that stuff. So like I said, Daniel Bryan, another guy, like he might be like kind of like a pompous dude in his own sense, but seems like a nice guy. But when he's a heel, he's fucking entertaining as hell, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, he's just I think Dominic's just a natural like hate, like people just hate him naturally. I mean, I love it. I remember how people used to hate Dominic when he first started and using Ray, but now it's just like you even forget that he was a good guy at one point.
Oh yeah, I mean, his whole run with Ray is kind of just a blur. At this point, with everything that happened with the Judgment Day.
Rhea put him in the right position, dude. She whatever she did it right.
Can I tell you how I would book Dom Mysterio to get even more heat? On Raw, or I guess you have a little bit of time if you want to do it this Raw or next Raw or whatever.
Yeah.
Dom versus Cody for Money in the Bank qualifier, last spot. Brock cost Cody the match. Dom wins.
Oh, dude.
And Dom's my fucking pick to win Money in the Bank.
Oh my god, yeah, dude. Imagine that. Imagine if
Look, you could put it on LA Knight and it'll be fine. However,
he needs a little bit more, I think.
LA Knight is at the point where he has to turn face. It's like LA Knight's going to be a face. He's going to get cheered regardless. What I would do is capitalize on the heat and have everyone think that LA Knight's going to win this thing, and then Dom sneaks in, grabs the briefcase. That will keep his heat up for the rest of the year. As long as he is holding on to that briefcase, Dom is going to be booed like nuclear heat.
And you want to even get even crazier? If he does win it, I could see him cashing in successfully with the help of Rhea and winning the world heavyweight shit. Dude, you want to talk about being booed out of the building? You want to see Hulk Hogan level cups thrown in the ring? Let them pull. See if they pull that off. See if they have the guts to pull that off. That'll be
let Dom crazy, hold the world title. Let him cash in on Seth.
Dude, oh my god, dude. I'd be speechless if that actually ever happened.
It's got to happen.
Dude, Dom and Rhea just champions. Damn, dude. I can see it. I mean, I could vision that happening, dude. Wow.
And that is where we are going to end off tonight's episode of the RAW.
Hey, yo.
Folks, thank you so much for tuning in to yet another edition. We got to wrap up quick because Honor Society is coming on in a few minutes.
That's right. Yes.
Marco, what do you got going on?
I have nothing going on, but there is a new episode of the Chick Foley Show. It's a chick quickie, as they call it. Seth and Sheena. They jump on and they review the newly released Power Town wrestling figures. The series that celebrates the golden age of professional wrestling. So they hop on and they do a quick review. Kind of upset I didn't order them when they first came out because they do look kind of awesome now. But definitely would get the Bruiser Brody if I could have. But that's another story. But yeah, definitely check that out. And as always, Chick Foley on IG, Chick Foley Show on Twitter, on the Twitter machine. as they call it, chickfoley.com to, listen, subscribe, all that stuff. And let's not forget, obviously, the Pod Foundation, the greatest collection of podcasters, entertainers, whatever you want to call it. I mean, we got you covered. We have the Turnbuckle Tavern, obviously. We have Extra Cooler. We have J-Bone coming down the aisle, of course. And then last but not least, the Chick Foley Show to round it out. So definitely check us out. I think we're the greatest collection of podcasters out there. And I'll argue that fact. I mean, Podfather or not, we have the greatest collection of shows. I mean,
it's hard to argue it. Yeah, definitely check out all the Pod Foundation. Coming down the aisle, Extra Cooler, Chick Foley, and the Turnbuckle Tavern. They dropped their flagship today or yesterday if you're listening to us on the podcast. So check out what they have to say about AEW. But until then, folks, thank you so much for tuning in to yet another edition of the RAWDOWN. If you liked what you heard, and I know that you did, make sure you head on down to theturnbuckletavern.com. Join our community. Listen to all of our podcasts. Watch all of our videos. Like all of our tweets. Like all of our Facebook. Just do everything. Join our Discord. Follow us on TikTok. Do everything that you need to do to support us because we are a great community. We are always posting the goods. So make sure you join our community. Also, you can give us your money over at prowrestlingtees.com/tavern. Always new shirts being added. I think a few more shirts were added recently, so check them out. Teespring is also a great place to get the shirts that you can't get on Pro Wrestling Tees. Just head on down to theturnbuckletavern.com and get your stickers and mugs and everything that you need right there on Teespring. And finally, give us a call at 304-404-2004. That's the number to call to hear your message played on the flagship show. So make sure you call the tavern and leave us a voicemail and tell us what you thought of tonight's episode of the RAWDOWN. That's 304-404-2004. Once again, 304-404-2004. Folks, thanks so much for tuning in. We're going to see you next week. It's just going to be the two of us again because J-Bone is taking on New York. We'll see J-Bone in 2 weeks, but we'll see you next week. And until then... So, where the fuck is the ending? Wait, hold on. Okay, there it is. Sorry. Take two. Thanks so much for watching, and as always...
Life sucks, and then you die!